Hello, today is Saturday, August 30th, and I just wanted to do a video recording of my trip to Mayo Clinic in Rochester. I've done 4 full chemotherapies of FLOT chemotherapy, and I'd already made a decision that I wasn't going to do any more. I didn't care what the results of my trip was going to be or what the doctor would say. I just simply wasn't going to do it anymore. I was too sick and I felt too awful. And I really honestly didn't think that if I did a 5th chemotherapy that I would survive it. So anyway, I did make my way to Mayo Clinic in Rochester, and I saw this gastric surgeon. And the good news is that my PET scan showed that the 4 rounds of FLOT chemotherapy that I had pretty much obliterated the stomach tumor. It wasn't lighting up on PET scan at all. It was just a shadow of where it used to be, and it wasn't lit up at all. And so that was really good news, because that meant that he was going to discontinue any further chemotherapy anyway, and he would go on to surgery. So the surgery now to remove the upper half of my stomach is scheduled for September 24th. And this procedure that he's doing is a new procedure that only Mayo Clinic is doing. And it's where he cuts the top half of my stomach off and removes it. And then he turns it on its side and attaches it to the intestine. And then he puts the esophagus on the top of the stomach, which is actually now the side of the stomach. So it comes in both this way through the esophagus into the stomach, and also straight through to the intestine. And it can come this way into the stomach. So there's more than one access to my stomach, and it's still basically the same flow into my intestine. So they say that the side effects of surgery, the pain and the nausea and the weight loss, is all less because of this surgery. Whereas in the past, they would simply remove your stomach and the flow would go right into your intestine. And it's much harder to adjust to that. It takes longer for your body to relearn how to digest food. So I was really happy about that. The other physician that I saw was about the lung tumor that I have. The port for the chemotherapy was sitting right here, and that's basically the same location of where this lung tumor is. So the port was removed. The sad part about the trip is that the port was causing blood clots, and I have more than one blood clot, and I had a horrific nosebleed. I have a tendency to nosebleeds because of the fact that I have a vein that sits very close to the surface, and so I can't take low-dose aspirin every day or even every other day, because it will eventually cause a catastrophic nosebleed. And I say catastrophic because I end up in the emergency room for cautery, and it simply will not stop. My sinuses will fill up with blood clots, and it will stop as long as the blood clot is there. But the minute that I blow out the blood clots so that they can do the cautery, it starts all over again. And the flow is so brisk and so heavy that they can't do the standard procedure to stop a nosebleed, which is the cautery. So they had to call in an ENT who could do suction at the same time and actually cauterize the vein. And there were 2 spots this time where it was briskly bleeding. So I lost so much blood, in fact, that my blood test showed that my bone marrow was triggered to produce more red blood cells. And some of the values that indicate that I've had a bleeding event were all elevated. So it was a serious nosebleed, and I knew it when I saw the river of blood going down the sink. So I had to call 911. I was out of town, didn't have a car, didn't have a way to get to the ER myself, so I had to call an ambulance. And it is pretty frightening. So, but anyway, that's not really so much related to the cancer as it is to the chemotherapy, because chemotherapy side effect can be nosebleeds. And so I knew that going in, and I brought Afrin with me to use, but I hadn't yet used it because I thought that the minor nosebleeds that I was getting had ended. But little did I know that it was just getting ramped up. So anyway, that sent me also to a vascular surgeon who is now treating me with Eliquis for the blood clot that I still have. As far as the lung tumor goes, everyone in my hometown had been telling me, the physicians and oncologists had been telling me that it could be easily treated with radiation therapy. It also is a BRCA2 tumor. So this didn't come from secondhand smoke or smoking or anything that I did. It's simply that BRCA2 mutation that I have inherited from my father. So they didn't agree in Mayo that radiation was the solution, simply because radiation will cause a lot of scarring. And it means that if the BRCA2 triggers another tumor in that same area, or that it comes back after radiation therapy, that removing that lobe is going to be twice as hard. So it would add complications to the surgery and complications that I don't need. So he also mentioned, too, that when you take out the lobe, you can also capture the lymph nodes that are sitting near your sternum. And when you do radiation therapy, you don't have the benefit of getting a good look at those lymph nodes to see whether or not they've been contaminated with cancer cells. So I agreed in the end that it would be the smartest thing to just remove that lobe, remove the lymph nodes, and get a good look at them, and then truly assess if I am cured from all of my current cancers. So that will have to be done at least a month after the stomach surgery. So I have a lot going on, and it's going to take at least to the end of this year for me to get through the cancer removal phase. So I did make it very clear to all of my doctors that I would never again do chemotherapy. I will soon be 69 years old, and I feel like I've been fortunate to have lived this long with BRCA2. A lot of people aren't that fortunate. And I found out that BRCA2 and BRCA1 cancers are pretty aggressive usually. And so I got real fortunate that this lung tumor is not aggressive at all. It's a slow-growing cancer. They did prove on CAT scan that it is not getting bigger, but it is getting more dense. The original ground glass opacity is really just like it sounds. When you have ground glass laid out on a table, it's not solid. There's a lot of spaces in between those glass chips. And so describing the tumor as ground glass opacity is actually very correct. It's very much like mesh, where it's not solid. Well, my tumor is now becoming increasingly more solid. So it is progressing. So the faster that we get that taken out, the better. But the stomach cancer is the more aggressive one. And so that will come first. So I just wanted to do a video that kind of reflects what I went through at Mayo Clinic. This is not going to be a short, easy endeavor. It's going to take time for me to relearn how to eat. And it will be slow at first. They said the most that I'll be able to eat at any given time would be a half a cup at best. And that I would not be able to drink and eat at the same time, that I would have to choose one or the other and then wait at least 30 to 40 minutes before embarking on something else. So it's going to be a challenge to get enough fluid in to be healthy and to get enough food in to be healthy. And they said that weight loss is pretty much guaranteed, but you want to try to keep that to a minimum. And you don't want to lose too much weight too fast, because then it throws your body into this cycle of pulling energy from your muscles instead of your fat or the food you eat. And so it kind of sets you into the wrong trajectory, so to speak. And you get muscle wasting and weakness and all the things that come with that. So in the meantime, they gave me a drink that is extremely expensive. It's a supercharged, nutritious meal similar to Ensure or Boost, but it's twice as loaded with nutrition. And I have to drink that 5 days, each day, 5 days before surgery to build myself up and to be prepared for not being able to eat for a while. So the shocker of that is that this drink is actually, if you buy it on Amazon yourself, is $110 for 5 drinks. That's expensive, really expensive. But fortunately, Mayo Clinic was able to give me a case that I wouldn't have to buy it. They gave it to me for free. So I'm on Social Security, so I can't afford a $110 drink. I can't. And I'm racking up bills even in spite of, having insurance. Even on Medicare, you still have to pay out of pocket. There are deductibles and different things that they may not cover for which you would have to pay. So it's not cheap. Cancer is not cheap. It's not cheap financially, emotionally, physically, or any other way. So I don't think there's too much more that I could add to this video. The next one will be when I have surgery, probably when I get home. So you have to be in the hospital, he said, for 4 days, but they want me to stick around in Rochester for an extra day to make sure that nothing happens. And then that's best case scenario. So if nothing goes wrong, I don't have any bleeding or blood clots or anything like that going on, that I should be home, on the 6th day. Now, if something happens, that will throw me into a longer hospitalization and, an unknown territory for me anyway. So I'm going to do the best that I can to follow their directions strictly, because I'm in uncharted territory even for me. Having worked as a medical transcriptionist all my life, my adult life, I've gained a lot of knowledge on different things. That doesn't by any means make me a doctor, but this is totally uncharted territory for me. It's a new procedure that only Mayo is doing, so I don't know anything about it on account of my work history. I've never heard of it. So it'll be a challenge to get through this, and I'm hoping that things will go smoothly. And if by chance you end up going to Mayo Clinic because you have stomach cancer as well, I feel like you'll be in good hands, And I know I'm saying that before I have the surgery, but just the way that he explained it and the things that they're doing, I feel like I'm getting the best care that I could possibly get. And so if you have to go down the same path, I think you're in good hands. And I think it'll probably go very well for you, as I'm hoping it will go very well for myself. So I wish that I knew more about, editing videos and adding in pictures and all of that stuff, but I really don't know anything. I'm old school and, never learned technology that much. So I know that these aren't the most entertaining videos, and I'm doing this one on my laptop instead of my phone. So I'm hoping that they will play better for people who are using Roku. It won't play, the videos that I've uploaded so far will not play on my Roku. And I Googled the reason why, and it basically said that I have to update all of my equipment. That there's somewhere in the pathways, there's something that's outdated, probably the Roku. But I'm hoping that doing them on my laptop will mean that everybody can view them, because I feel like a lot of the times people are bailing out of my videos early, like within 30 seconds, because they're simply not playing. And I apologize for that. If I find out that it is playing better on my laptop, I might redo those videos so that people can actually see them. So anyway, this is what I had as far as an update for now, and I will see you again later after I've had my surgery. So thank you for watching, especially if you got to the end of this video. I really appreciate it. I do these videos for the sake of people who are traveling the same journey. So if you have family or friend that's also in the same journey, I hope you get benefit from my experience. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.